welcome back to Deducation, the Teacher Talkie Terror podcast, where myself, Mike,
and Courtney
are here to talk about a vampire movie. 40 some odd episodes into this show, and we haven't captured one of the quintessential horror monsters, the vampire. We're here this episode. We're going to talk about 1987's Joel Schumacher movie, The Lost Boys. Kiefer Sutherland, Jason Patric. Have you seen the Harry Potter movies?
Yes.
Okay. Draco Malfoy's dad. Follow me there? Like the actor? Okay. He is the father of Michael in this movie.
Oh, okay.
So, this is an extremely 80s, 80s just oozing all over this movie.
Yeah.
I love this movie so much. It's a good one.
This was a good movie.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I was like, oh, I gotta bring on because, I mean, you've been around enough. One bad movie is not going to ruin an entire genre for you.
Right.
But I'm like, knowing that it's like, you know what a vampire is, now let's watch one on film. I'm like, let's get a good one. And
yes.
This is a good one. So The Lost Boys. Yeah, I think you recognize Corey Feldman, and that's about the only name that you mentioned in here.
Him
Corey Feldman.
And oh my goodness, who is the other one that was? Yes.
Yeah, but the thing you recognize Kiefer Sutherland from was the one piece of work nobody recognizes Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, Designated Survivor. Love that
you're
TV show.
Kiefer Sutherland. I'm like, oh, from 24 or from Stand By Me or Flatliners and you're like, or Phone Booth, and you're like, no, Designated Survivor. I'm like, okay, fair enough. This movie's got some big names attached to it. Richard Donner, the producer of this movie, directed the first couple Superman movies. He directed The Omen, which is a very, very good classic horror film. So he's a big name. And even Joel Schumacher, he did a Batman movie. Joel Schumacher, he's been around quite a bit too. So seeing those names pop up, again, bigger in the 80s. He wrote there's a movie came out in the late 70s called The Wiz, which is basically the Black Wizard of Oz. Michael Jackson was the Scarecrow. Diana Ross was Dorothy. But he directed this movie and St. Elmo's Fire and Flatliners and Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. He directed a lot of movies that were fairly successful. So Joel Schumacher is one of those. So it's to see those names come together, okay, so it doesn't surprise me this movie doesn't disappoint. So really simple storyline, really, for this movie.
Yeah.
We've got a family, Lucy and her kids, Mike and Sam. Mom's down on her luck, divorced, unemployed, they're broke. So they moved from Phoenix to California, to Santa Carla, California. Basically, they go move in with Grandpa because Mom she's I don't understand why she's hit rock bottom.
I know.
She's a good mom.
Seems yes, and she's very pretty, I thought.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Diane Wasted. She's pretty.
So it's man, what's happened to you?
Other than they just said, well, you've hit rock bottom,
yeah.
I mean, because she seems intelligent enough. I don't understand. I don't know. I was just confused that because again, you're a good mom, you're a good person. Why is it so hard for you to find a job in Phoenix, Arizona?
Yeah.
That's a huge town, huge city. And you're I'm sorry, no work to here. And so she goes to Santa Carla. Yeah, they move. Santa Carla reminds me of what I imagine Coney Island is out in New York. It's everything seems to center on the boardwalk.
Yeah.
And so we're at the boardwalk in Santa Carla. Michael is your older brother, very 80s, big hair, leather jackets, chiseled looks. He's a handsome dude.
He is.
Younger brother Sam, Corey, played by Corey Feldman. Now, I think this is the only horror movie. Corey Haim, yeah.
The other one.
I think this is the only horror movie that the Coreys were in, but the Coreys were huge in the 80s. Like,
okay.
If Corey Haim was in a movie, who played Sam, if Corey Haim was in a movie, Corey Feldman was also probably in that movie. And they were together. The Coreys were in a ton of stuff together. And it was all successful. All of it. License to Drive was a big one. There were others that Dream a Little Dream was another one that they were in. They actually had a TV show called The Two Coreys for a while. But he was in other stuff. Actually, one of his first movies, he was in a movie called Lucas, which was actually filmed up in the north suburbs of Chicago. My first teaching job I had, the principal at the school I worked at, when he was in high school, he was an extra in that movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. So, yeah, the Coreys were a big deal in the 80s. They were, of course, this was also back in an era where because there was no social media, there were like teeny bopper magazines all over the place. And so the two Coreys were often on the cover of these Tiger Beat, like young girls would go buy magazines and they'd have these like trifold posters that you could tear out and hang on your wall. It's a bygone era for sure.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take very long. We meet Grandpa. He's kind of a goofy recluse.
Yeah.
He taxidermies as a hobby. He doesn't own a TV because he gets the TV guide. Like, why do you need a TV if you have TV? Yeah, if I can just read what it's about, why would I watch the shows? But it doesn't take us long for the movie to throw us on the boardwalk, where Michael, because he sees just this beautiful young lady, Star is her name, and he's just smitten with her. They are at, oh my God, there needs to be more pop-up concerts with like professional wrestlers playing saxophone. There needs to be more of those. Like, there's no lights at this concert except for like burning like hobo barrels, like burning oil barrels that are just lit on fire, and guys are on stage singing a song, playing the saxophone, and just covered in oil. Like, oh, this movie is so great. Yeah, so Michael and Sam are at this concert. He sees Star and he can't take his eyes off of her. Meanwhile, Sam heads over to a comic book store on the boardwalk and runs into the Frog Brothers, Edgar and Allan. Get it? Edgar Allan, because like Edgar Allan Poe, Edgar and Allan Frog.
His voice, is that his real voice, you think?
Which one?
The one that was kind of like, I don't remember what one. The one that kind of was like, rawr.
Oh.
That's the best I got. Sounded like off the Little Rascals. You know that frog kid off Little Rascals.
Yeah. Corey Feldman was purposefully trying to talk and sound like an adult in this movie. It may have been him. But there are a couple of teenage vampire hunters, as they claim. They give Sam a comic book, just because you got to watch out because there's vampires. You know, just it's real croaky voice, and he's like, I don't. It's just such a flawless, like, simple introduction to these characters. We also meet. Actually, we met them early, but we meet David and his gang. Yeah. And David and his gang are movie punks, and I love movie punks. I talked about movie punks when we watched Return of the Living Dead, and I'll talk about movie punks now. These guys are, again, trench coats. Their hair has got so much product in it, and they basically walk the boardwalk and intimidate.
Yeah, they're the guys that you don't want to be around.
No, but at the same time, they're like gorgeous guys too. Like,
yeah,
they're kind of like you want to hang out with them, but you don't want to be around them. So Michael's following Star, and Star, like, she's with David. So there we go.
Rides off. She rides off with him.
Right. There's our conflict. Star and David are together. We did see very early in the movie, we haven't talked about vampires yet, but we did see very early in the movie, before we even met Lucy and the boys, that David and his crew were like on a merry-go-round.
Yeah.
Like right away in the movie. They're walking on this merry-go-round, doing their thing, like slow walking, and it was just whatever. And security guard tells them, you guys got to get out of here. Told you to stay off the boardwalk. And then later that evening, as the security guard's walking to his car, we get this like point of view of something flying high above, and it swoops down on the security guard, and then he just goes missing. And so, granted, I ruined it by telling you we're watching a vampire movie, but whatever. So yeah, we got Michael, who's fascinated with Star. Star's with David. What were your thoughts when we get to this challenge, where like Michael met up with Star, and they talked, and she liked him, and then Michael was like, "Let's get on my bike and go for a ride," and then David and crew show up, and she just bails on Mike and gets on David's
I know.
bike.
I felt like it's like a bit of secondhand embarrassment, because it's like he's new to this place. It was, I don't want to say love at first sight, but it's like they both locked eyes at the same time. Yeah. Like, this poor kid, he thinks he's hitting a home run, and boom, there she goes. Like, and David's like, "Keep up with me."
Yeah, and I'll give Michael credit. Like, you know, I think he did a good job of understanding his role, because like even when she walked off and got on David, he didn't argue it, he didn't fight it.
Right.
I think he realized the pecking order, and he even said, you know, to David, like, I can't beat your bike. Like, you know, like I know what I am, and I can't be. And that's when David's like, "You don't got to beat me, just keep up." And so Michael's like, "Okay, I'll try." I'm impressed with Michael, because like the first dirt bike obstacle they came to was just riding down a short flight of stairs, and Michael like stopped and like, "I don't know if I can do this." Like, just turn around and go home, Michael. Like, these four guys on motorcycles took these stairs without even a thought, and you're like, "Oh, I'm just really unsure of myself." But they almost kill him. Like, they're running across the beach. Yeah, like they're racing. Michael's keeping up all right, and then we see the camera like take off way in front of them and realize that like they're driving towards the edge of the sea cliff.
And it's getting real bumpy now, and it's like, uh-oh.
And Michael bails out, understandably so. You know, he's mad at David, understandably so, because David obviously knows the lay of the land, and Michael's new to this place. So he was going to kill him. But he didn't, because the movie would have been over at that point. So David invites Michael to their hangout, which I thought was kind of a cool story here. They're staying at this like they well, we know they live there. But they're staying at this like sunken luxury hotel that like got swallowed up by the ground by an earthquake. One of my favorite scenes was this. What did you think about this scene when they were eating Chinese food?
It made me laugh. This is how sometimes, like, I love Chinese food, but when Casey and I first got together, he's like, "It's so disgusting. Like, that's so nasty." And this is how I picture Casey probably envisioned Chinese food. because he
Maggot.
likes it now, because there was one time like I'm just like, go hungry or eat Chinese food.
Right.
So he had to try it. But it's just like he would seriously make the noise
Oh, good
every
Lord.
time. I'd be like, ooh, I'm gonna have Chinese, like beef and broccoli. I'm like, seriously? Like, you haven't even, I don't care, it's got like brown sauce on it. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But,
So do mashed
yeah.
potatoes sometimes. So
So this is how I envisioned Casey pictured Chinese when we first started
Right.
dating.
Yeah, well, we know he hasn't seen Lost Boys because he can't do a scary movie either. But that would be funny if he's like, all right, Chinese food just maggots and worms. But yeah, it was David's just messing with them. Like,
Yeah.
you know, he gives him rice and he's eating it up, and he's like, "How are those maggots?" You know, offers him
And then
homemade
you look
noodles and
down.
they look like worms. And really, it was all this trickery because then they start drinking out of this like
Yeah.
bejeweled wine bottle.
It went dark real fast. It's
Yeah.
like, let's just have some fun now. Now drink this.
Yeah, be one of us. You know, and he does. He, like, David takes a big drink out of it, offers it to Michael. Well, you know, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, or shame on you. Whatever, how that saying goes. But this is the third time where Michael's like, it's been rice, it's been noodles. This is not, you know. And even Star gets right. She's like, don't do it, Michael. It's blood.
Yeah.
You know, Michael's like, again, I don't blame him because
Whatever.
he's like, I'm not gonna listen. Like, no, you guys have been messing with me. So he drinks it, and it's now he's a vampire. Like, he's
Yeah.
you know, he's gonna start the transcendence. The movie stays pretty true to vampire lore, in that, with the exception of Michael wasn't bitten.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually where you get turned, is you're bitten by a vampire. But they do stay true to the lore, like with Star and the little boy, because until you drink, like, until you bite and drink your first, like, you're not full vampire yet.
Okay.
And so they stay pretty accurate with that here, because David is not, or not David, Michael is now like Star, and
Yeah.
what was the kid's name?
Letty.
Letty. Because I knew it had double letters. I'm like, it's not Larry, and it's not Lonnie, and it's not Laddie. Yeah. And so he drinks from it. So now he's got this transformation. You know, little things where, like, well, after this transformation, they like, let's go to the train tracks.
Yeah.
Apparently Santa Carla's really foggy.
The whole time.
Yeah. But I do like this scene where they are standing on the train tracks, and then they just, one by one, just start jumping off. And they like go, like, just get enveloped in the fog. And
Michael's like, what the heck?
Right, yeah. But then we see them, they're all just hanging from the bottom of the train tracks, which, let's not kid ourselves, not possible. The angle that, I'm going to nerd out here for a second. They jump off, they fall quite far, but it's like, we know they're vampires, so they probably just swooped right back around and flew back up and got it. Michael does, though. Michael just drops, catches it, and then they all start letting go and just dropping, to which Michael then freaks out. But he trusts himself. He trusts David. Don't know why.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's dropped. And he lands in bed. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because he's a vampire. Vampires sleep all day. He's real sensitive to light. Like, he goes to get some milk and vomits because that's what vampires do. They can't eat real food.
That's unfortunate.
Sam's taking a bath. Now, granted, if there's nothing else to do, then you take a bath. Because if there's no...
Right.
Grandpa doesn't seem like he has a shower. But Sam gets a bathtub scene.
Yeah, and I don't know, this is just so goofy. Like, the whole movie, I think the movie was humorous throughout.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it's like,
there's some comedy to it.
he is just jamming
Oh yeah.
with all these bubbles as a teenager. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy a good bubble bath, but I'm not jamming out
Right.
having beards with, like putting bubble
Sam's
beards
loving
on
life.
me.
Sam is loving
He
life.
is.
Like,
Yeah, except the dog's not.
yeah. Well, it's odd that
moved-
Sam. It's odd that Sam is so like happy go. Like, he didn't want to move from Phoenix. They moved in with Grandpa. His brother's acting weird. His mom now has a job at a video store. Like,
Yeah.
and he knows two people that, or he just met them and they're acting like they're vampire hunters. And meanwhile, Sam's like, I don't have a care in the world. Like, I'm gonna go take a
He's got a
bubble
great
bath.
attitude. He does.
He does, yeah. But yeah, Nanook, his Alaskan Malamute dog, it's a good watchdog, Nanook.
He is.
Michael realizing that the only thing he's hungry for is human blood, and the only human around is his brother. He was gonna go up, and I guess he was gonna kill him.
Yeah. I mean, because he was looking at him, but Nanook's like, attacks him.
Yeah.
Just as Sam goes underwater.
Yeah. I really enjoy a type of shot that they did here. It's just kind of like a dolly out, where when Sam comes up out of the water, there's like, you've got him, like a close-up on him, he's filling the frame, and then the camera just starts backing up really far, just to show how alone he actually is in this bathroom.
Yeah. Like, nothing is in there with him.
Right. Yeah, Nanook's gone, and then...
Yeah. He hops out, opens a door, and, like, Michael's covered in blood on his hands.
Yeah.
And he's trying to convince him that it's his blood and that the dog attacked him.
Yeah, because he was like, what'd you do to my dog? Nothing.
Yeah.
It's my blood. He bit me.
And this is where, like, the mirror scene kind of happens, and because Sam has been reading those comics, he's like, dude, you're a vampire.
Right.
Like,
But
you're
he's
a
not even
bloodsucker.
afraid. Like, Sam's not even afraid. He's more mad.
Yeah.
He's more mad. Like, you've really interrupted my vibe here. Like, you're blood-sucking, like, you're a vampire. He doesn't run and hide. He doesn't call for help. He's just, like, mad at his brother. Like,
Yeah, he's like, wait till I tell Mom.
Yeah, what did you do? But Michael, again, is like, I need your help. I really, really, really like the relationship between Michael and Sam in this movie. Because Michael is quite a bit older. But I really like, even before the vampire stuff, like, they've got little... Like, they joke around with each other, like when they saw Grandpa growing marijuana up on the windowsill. Like, there's just they did a really good job with these two of, they appear like they're brothers, like they're looking out for each other, while they're both also trying to look out for Mom. But yeah, so the movie really the pedal hits the metal here.
It does.
Like, I watched it yesterday, and it clocks in about an hour and a half, hour and 38 minutes or so. And the movie's not slow at any point, but it was about over. And in my mind, I'm like, it's over. Like, I just felt like there was more, but no, this movie just takes off. Once Michael starts that transformation process into a vampire, movie just takes off. So Sam is like, I got to go get the Frog Brothers. They'll know what to do. Okay. And, the Edgar and Alan are like, you've got to find the head vampire. Because that's true in, like, vampire lore is, if you can kill the main vampire, everybody that's, like, in that family, that family tree
like
off of them,
the vampires or whatever.
Yeah, will revert back. Like, there's usually there's like a one main vampire, and that vampire turns somebody. It's almost like a pyramid scheme.
Okay.
And it's like, so even though David turned Michael, if they can turn Like
The head.
basically, like their thoughts are like, if we could kill David, then Michael's fine, you
Yeah.
know, and as well as Star and Laddie or Letty or whatever his name is. So they're trying to figure out who the main vampire would be, and
their
they
first
land
suspect.
they land on Max,
Yeah.
the video store owner and mom's boss, because Santa Carla is the murder capital of the world, but everybody that we need to know is so conveniently within the bubble
Yes.
of influence here. It's not some random person somewhere. Nope, it's mom's boss. That's the
And Max has a mean dog, which they called
Thorn.
like what the Hellguarders or whatever.
Yeah, the Hellhound.
Hellhounds, yeah. So I mean, makes sense.
Yeah.
For what these Frog Brothers are saying.
So they have an idea. Mom says she's going to have Max over for dinner. To which Sam says, "Oh, I'm going to have my friends over for dinner too. We'll have dinner." Max shows up as Michael's leaving, and we get another vampire lore thing here, which I thought was the first time you see this, they handled it really well, and then after you know it, you sniff it out, of course, because you've seen it, but it also makes sense. Vampires cannot enter a place unless they're invited. Like, that's just the rules. A vampire could come to my front door tonight. I could open the door and he could just fang out right there in front of me. But if I don't invite him in the house, we're safe. So Michael's getting ready to leave. Max comes to the door, and Max says, "As the man of the house, I wouldn't think to come in unless I'm invited." And Michael's like, "You're invited."
Yeah.
Giving Max permission to be in the house. Well, the Frog Brothers and Sam basically destroy dinner by trying to throw every trick in the book at who they assume is the main vampire.
Yeah.
You know, talk him into. He puts a whole load of garlic on his macaroni, on his spaghetti instead of Parmesan cheese. Vampires don't like garlic. You know, they drop holy water in his lap. They put the candles out and put a mirror in front of his face before they turn the lights back on. He has a reflection. Like, they're just it's like the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Like, it's just misfire after misfire. So it can't be Max. No way. So they're like, well, it's got to be David.
Yep.
It's got to be David. Meanwhile, Michael was going out to be with David and the guys and Star. Really, the only reason he goes to hang out with the guys is because Star's around.
Right.
And they go, basically there's this beach party going on, and this is the first time we see David and the guys like vamp out. We know they're vampires, but they're all like in the shadows, and they come across this beach party, and it's time to feed. And this is where David's like, "You got to get your kill, Michael," because again, like Star and Laddie, if you don't kill, you're not a vampire yet.
Yeah.
So part
like you're
human.
just a halfling or whatever they call them.
And so we get a kind of a graphic scene here. You know, they played it in the shadows a little bit, but I even said to my wife when we were watching this, Santa Carla, no matter what angle you're at, you get amazing moonlight in Santa Carla. You could be driving your dirt bike through the forest, and you've got magnificently bright moonbeams shining all over the place. Like,
yeah.
So they attack, they vamp out. They all look, they're vampire selves, and they just murder everybody at this beach party. But, like, I think my favorite one was, like, David grabs a guy's bald head, and, like, you see him bite into it, and it just sprays blood. Because,
just right out the top.
Yeah, because apparently the human body is like a pressure cooker of blood. And is like, I feel bad for this guy if he ever cuts himself shaving on his head, because it just sprays all over the ceiling. It does mine. I know when I shave, if I cut myself, it's a mess. So Michael refuses. This is where Star reveals to him that she and Laddie are also like David or like Michael, part human. And actually, not at the party, but Michael goes home, and then Star shows up outside of Sam's window.
Yes.
And then she like vamps herself into the room, and again, Sam's not even scared. He's just mad. Like
Yeah.
he does
she's
jump
one
into
of
bed.
them.
He does jump in bed and like cover up with his sheet. Like that's gonna stop the vampire.
He's like cowering a little bit, but he's like yelling at them at the same time.
Right. It's just like he's a brave kid. It's just the way he handles this. He's just so like frustrated that all that, like, it's ruining his summer. Like, so now that the frogs and Sam have given up on Max being the head vampire, they have a plan. The plan is Michael knows where their lair is. Let's go, and we'll go during the day, and we'll stake them. We'll kill them.
Good idea.
Not a bad idea. Like,
yeah.
Obviously the Frog Brothers have never seen a vampire.
Yeah.
But they know their stuff. They're prepared, and they're brave. So Michael drives them there in Grandpa's car. That's another little joke that, like, the movie's got all kinds of little layers of jokes that are fun. And they climb up. They find them. Michael takes Star and Laddie out to the car because, again, he knows what they're trying to do. But they crawl down and they find basically the spot where they're all hanging from their toes like bats.
Yes, and their feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it must be something that happens when you turn a vampire to where your feet have no arch to them.
Nope.
And your toes are on both sides because, disgusting. Their toenails were so long.
It was pretty gross, yeah. And they kill one of the vampires. They get Marco. And just this, like, it's almost like cooking oil just sprays out all over. It's like this kind of caramel looking, like a light brown sugar colored. It's just like, it's gross. That wakes the rest of them up. Now it's a chase. They got to get out of there before the vampires get them. David does grab Sam's foot just as he's about to get out, and they end up pulling, and David's like hand ends up hitting the sunlight and just catches on fire immediately. Which is, again, pretty accurate. Another one of my favorite shots of this, and it was completely unintentional but just happened, was when David pulls his hand back out and they zoom in and then he just sheds that one tear.
See,
You missed it?
I don't know. I saw that, but I didn't know why he was like crying.
Because his hand was just caught on fire.
Okay. Well, that's kind of what I wondered.
One of his friends was just murdered. Heartless Courtney.
I didn't know, like, I didn't know if it was like a vampire thing, like, you shed a tear.
No, but that was just kind of cool that it's like, despite all that makeup Kiefer Sutherland had on, like, he's still, and it wasn't even, if I remember correctly, like, reading in the trivia, like, that's just something that happened. Like, it wasn't, he just kind of did that. Like,
okay.
How do you cry out of one eye?
Yeah.
I'm always amazed when actors and actresses in Hollywood could just cry on a whim.
Yeah.
They're like, I thought about that time when I was a kid and my dog died, and I'm like, I can't. I struggle to cry now.
And that's why they're in the movies, and we talk about them.
That's true. That's the only thing keeping me from being a superstar in Hollywood.
That's
is my inability to cry on command. So close. So, yeah. The vampires are like, we'll just wait till nighttime. We'll go back out to Michael and Sam's house, and we'll just kill them. So then we get basically Home Alone.
Yeah.
Is what this turns into. Sam and the frogs go back to booby trap the house. We get kind of a cool montage where they're filling their water guns at a church while a kid's getting baptized.
I love it. And like they just they just walked in, and like everyone looks at them, and you got like old grandma and grandpa are like, what the heck? And they just get out these like big flasks or whatever you call them, and they're just like taking the holy water.
They're filling their water guns and the canteens, and it does, like, everything just stops. They keep cutting back to the priest is just standing there, the mom's holding the baby, and then like when they're done, they leave and kind of give a quick fist pump and like, go get them. Like smashing garlic and sharpening it's like we've got to get a song in here so that we can make a montage. I miss montages. I love a good montage. But yeah, they're basically booby trapping and barricading the house because the vampires are coming and we have to protect ourselves. And that's what happens. David's gang attacks. The Frog Brothers, they try with a cross. They get, like, one vampire gets them in the bathroom. They try with a cross and they end up splashing holy water into the vampire's face. But that doesn't do enough, and then thankfully Nanook has one move. And Nanook's move is, I'm going to jump into the chest of the vampire and knock him backwards. It did it to Michael, and he did it to this guy. And so, he falls into the bathtub, and basically it just melts him. Turns him into a skeleton, and then, like, all the plumbing in the house just goes berserk. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, this bathtub was full. It's not like you're draining vampire juices into the sewer. But yeah, the water in the house just decides to go haywire and like starts spitting out this like I said, this caramelized thick liquid stuff.
Yeah.
And so we get another one. Oh, Sam shoots one vampire with a bow and arrow, and it happens to take him backwards into the stereo system, and so he explodes, and then Sam's like, death by stereo. It's like, not every joke lands in this movie. Then we know it's coming. Michael and David have a battle. I mean, it's been shaping up the whole movie. We've got David, who has experience at being a vampire, and Michael, who doesn't, but he's angry. Right. And Laddie vamps out at one point, and Star kind of protects him so that there's no murder there. Well, Michael wins. He, like, the one room in Grandpa's house they're supposed to stay out of, the taxidermy room, Michael thrusts David into, like, a set of antlers.
Yeah, like antelope antler, something. Yeah. I don't know. They're really long.
It shouldn't have worked. Because it's only if you're like wooden stakes. It shouldn't have killed David, but it did. Okay, whatever. But Michael, Star, and Laddie don't change.
No.
Because David was not the head vampire.
Nope.
Who shows up?
And meanwhile, like, while all this was going on, Mom, Lucy, and Max are out on a date, and like Lucy is real jumpy, and she's just like, oh, it's nothing, like, it's just my kid talked about, like, vampires, blah, blah, blah. So here comes Max and Lucy. Yeah, they come home. Returning home. And Max comes in and just goes on like this was meant to happen. If I could get Sam.
Lucy was tending to Sam.
Yeah.
And Max is standing there for a second. And it's just, I love it when a movie director knows what he's doing and they can make little decisions that, that just work. Like, Max is standing there with Lucy and then looks to the left. And while Lucy's talking to Sam, we see Max just walk away.
Yeah. And, like, he checks on David, who is obviously dead. And, like, he's just like, this is my plan all along. Like, if I could get Michael and Sam, then you would join the family too.
Right.
And just as he starts to, like, because he's, like, turned, like, he's like vampire now.
He's vamped out.
Because he's like, I still want you.
Mm-hmm.
and goes to like suck her blood. Well, out comes Michael.
Right.
And
so
then
they
it
have
was just
a fight.
like, yeah.
And then
And
who saves the day?
oh, Grandpa.
Grandpa does.
I'm like, I'm drawing a blank here, but yeah, Grandpa comes home with his big old truck and just drives right through the house, and Michael kind of throws Max to the side, and he gets impaled by a wooden spear.
Yeah. It like I said, Grandpa's weird. They got him out of the house earlier because he's been going over to visit this widow.
Yeah.
And so Sam's like, "Oh, the widow called. You're supposed to pick her up." And he's like, "I have a date. Okay, I'll go get ready."
We had plans.
Yeah. And so so that's why Grandpa was gone. And then he, like you said, he shows up. Mac impales Max, who happened to be the head vampire. So now Michael, Star, and Laddie are fine again. Grandpa gets out of his truck, goes to the refrigerator, who he specifically told them earlier in the movie, stay away from the second drawer. That's where I keep my that's where I keep my Oreos and Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
So he just gets out of the truck. I mean, everybody is still kind of in shock of what just happened. Like, Grandpa just drove through his own house, murdered a guy, gets out and he gets into the fridge, gets out a root beer, and just says, you know, the one thing about living in Santa Carla he could just never stomach was just all the vampires. And it's like, so all along, Grandpa's been aware. But again, that's why he never goes anywhere. Like he even said, I don't go anywhere. Everything I need's right here. And then that's it. The movie's over, and you know, it's like it's just such a tight little film, really. Like, it starts out with, I mean, really, this whole movie takes place over the course of less than a week.
Yeah.
I would think, really. I mean, there's some things that don't quite add up. I guess that, you know, like they moved to Santa Carla. Like, it seems like within a day they're on the boardwalk. Mom gets hired, but it feels like this movie takes place over the course of like a week at most. Did Mom get proper training at the video store? Apparently so, because she's running it by herself within a week. Like, whatever. Like, that's just me being an idiot. But that's the Lost Boys, which, of course, do you know that the name of the movie is based on like Peter Pan, because the Lost Boys and Neverland never age, never get older. Well, vampires don't either. So, you know, vampires never grow up. So there we go. Let's grade this thing.
I liked this one.
Good.
I thought it was funny.
There was a lot of
I really liked the Frog Brothers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna go with an A-.
Okay.
Just because, like, there wasn't a lot of, you know, but like gore type things. But I really liked it. It was easy to watch. It was humorous. I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it the special effects were put into the makeup.
Yeah, and the feet.
Not so much the gore. Yeah. Like you said, there was blood, you know, but not much of it. Like,
no.
They kept the vampire killing really into just that one scene. You know, where they attacked that party.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the feet. It was the feet for me. Like,
yeah, they only showed
that was the goriest, nastiest part.
They were pretty gnarly for sure. Like, how do you guys put those in boots? Like,
I know,
because they weren't, when their feet were all nasty, they still looked human.
Yeah.
So it's like, can you just transform your feet to grab onto things? I don't know. So A- for you. I'm going to give it an A. While yes, it is thin on scares and it's thin on gore, it is just so wonderfully 80s. The music is obviously with it being made in the 80s, everything's the 80s, but they just really leaned into it. Big hair, movie punks, even the dirt bikes. I don't know why. One of my favorite things from this movie, even when I was a kid watching it, is the vampires' dirt bikes all had these like spoke covers on a wheel that were like just a solid color. And so normally you'd look at, like a motorcycle riding and, it's like you could see the spokes. But in this case, there weren't any. It was just, I don't know why that I see these and I'm like, oh, that's just so cool. Never been on a dirt bike in my life, but I'm like, wow, that's just so cool. So yeah, I'm going to give it an A. It's a fun movie. It's not overly scary, but there are some jumpy parts. Like there's scary moments. You're never scared, but you're like, oh man, that would suck getting cornered by, that would suck getting cornered by a vampire in the bathroom. And just some of the creativity with some of the shots too. Like they never show the vampires flying, but they show them from their point of view. Like swooping in on the security guard, ripping the roof off that car. Yeah. When they take that couple out, like just some of that kind of stuff is just cool. Like, you see vampires, but you don't often see them from the vampire's point of view, which is just cool. So, lessons. You got a lesson from this movie?
Don't fall into peer pressure.
Yeah, peer pressure. That's a great one. Yeah.
I mean, granted, they probably would have killed him if he would have drank the blood. But, had he not fallen into peer pressure, this could have saved a lot of problems. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go with respect relationships. I would not go up to somebody and ask to buy their car unless it's for sale. I would not walk up to someone's house and make an offer if it wasn't for sale. Once Michael realized that Star was with David, let it go. Yeah. Just let it go. If you're in a relationship or the person you're interested in is in a relationship, don't complicate things. Just let it go. So much of this movie, the entire movie's avoided if, like, hey, Michael, absolutely, you can check out Star. She's gorgeous. But, that just because you get to look at the menu doesn't mean you get to order off of it.
Exactly.
So, movie doesn't even happen if Michael's like, oh, she's your girl, didn't know. Sorry, man. Right, then you go home. That's the end. Let somebody else be her first victim.
That's that.
Yeah. Do you think there's other vampires in Santa Carla, or do you think Max and the Four were responsible for all of the murders?
I don't know. Based off Twilight, vampires can do some damage. So, but I also feel like
for a horror podcast, let's not start a sentence on a horror podcast with based on Twilight.
Based off Twilight. Based off the other vampire show that I've seen. No, but I feel like there's more because everyone was like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, like it's filled with vampires.
Well, and even Grandpa's comment at the end is, all the vampires. Like there had to have been more than 5.
So,
because there were a lot of missing people in Santa Carla. Mm-hmm. So they happened to get Max as the head vampire of his little family, but there's got to be others. Yeah. There are 2 sequels to this movie.
Okay.
I haven't seen either one. There is a 2008, again, kind of a horror comedy. Corey Feldman is in that one as well. He plays Edgar Frog. Apparently the other Frog brother was too successful to come back. There is a Sutherland in this movie too. I don't know anything about this movie. And then the third one, that one's called Lost Boys: The Thirst. And then 2 years later, they made another one called Lost Boys: The Tribe is the second one. Lost Boys: The Thirst is the third one. Also starring Corey Feldman. So, and then because he plays Edgar Frog, the actor who plays Alan Frog is also back. So the Frog brothers are back in the third one. And I'm just reading the first line of the plot. In Washington, D.C., Edgar and Alan Frog interrupt a half-vampire senator. Okay, I'll stop right there. Like, I don't know if I'm interested to watch it or not. Short movie, 83 minutes. So it's probably not good, but might be worth a watch. So what'd you think of your first vampire movie? You gave it an A-.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked the humor in it. And I mean, I liked everything else too, just like how everything happened like at night pretty much, and
yeah, it's just a fun little balance. So, do you have a suggestion for next week, or shall we shuffle?
Well, so I've kind of started making a list.
Okay.
Like so there were some that we had like talked about after last time.
Right.
His House.
Right.
Did I bring up I See You?
I don't remember. Let me look. No, you did not.
Because there's that, and there's also The Reading.
Okay.
Those are some that I've seen on TikTok.
Ooh, The Reading has Monique in it. She's a comedian. I say that and you probably don't have a clue what I'm talking about, do you?
I'm like, okay. It looked like Oprah Winfrey on the cover.
It's Monique.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm open to whatever. What do you want to watch next week? Your pick.
Do you have The Reading?
Let me look. I do not, but let me see if I can find it streaming anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Let's try that one.
Okay. We'll watch The Reading. Reading is a 2023 movie. Follows Emma as she writes a book in order to cope with a deadly home invasion and how a new terror will be unleashed after a reading performed in her home. Ooh. Sounds good.
Different. We haven't had like any psychic movies yet.
No, not really. I don't think. We're getting to the point where I'm like, I forgot what we've covered, but
I know. Yeah. So we'll do The Reading.
Yeah, we will be back next week to watch and cover The Reading, a new release. Came out. When did this come out? It says the release date was December 10th of 2019 in Canada, but it just hit the United States recently. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong one. The Reading. I clicked back on accident. Yeah, The Reading came out February 2nd this year.
Okay.
So we'll be back next week to cover Lee Daniels and Monique's The Reading. Until then, we got Fair Week next week.
Yes.
Are you a big fair visitor?
Just for the Derby.
Yeah.
Just the Derby.
I think we might do motocross this year.
If Grayson is in it, I will probably go to it. But if not, I could care less.
So we normally don't, but we're trying to think like what, because my in-laws have grandstand tickets, like front seats.
Yeah. And
so we just try to divvy them up through the family on who wants to go to this night. I mean, because we've got a full, I don't know how many seats they've got, but
I think, I guess like the whole bench, I think is 6 because we've got them.
Yeah. So we've got 6 seats, and but it's like you're just trying to break them up between the families where, like, we don't go to the pageant.
Yeah.
Thought about the demo derby, but everybody likes to go to the demo derby, so we got to sacrifice.
Yeah. It's my favorite, and I love because we're like right up front. So
yeah, I think we are too. But
I love the
I think my
splash
son.
by
I think my
mud.
son will like motocross.
Yeah, it. I mean, I've only been once, but I think it is neat.
It beats the what's the second night, the harness racing.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
still
No
draws
thanks on
people though.
that.
That still
It
draws
does,
numbers.
but it's wine tasting too that night. So
Oh, so they know how to get people in the seats. Yeah, fair enough.
yeah.
So, well, for another week of education, we covered Lost Boys. We'll be back next week to cover the reading. And until then, you have a good rest of your summer, I guess. But we'll be back soon.
Yes. Stay
So
cool.
Yeah, that's right. So for education, I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
We'll see you guys soon.
Bye.